Hi, this is Moviedio channel. Today I'm going to show you Gattaca, a drama, sci-fi, and thriller film. There will be spoilers ahead. Keep an eye out and be cautious. Humans will have achieved genetic sequencing and DNA manipulation in the future. Parents can now modify their children's genes during the insemination process. Diseases, as well as unwanted physical qualities such as body odor, balding, and baldness, can now be eliminated. Humans now live far longer lives and reap the benefits of living a long and healthy life. These genetically modified children have become the norm and are seen as fully functioning members of society. Even with all of this progress, some humans are still born and conceived naturally. These persons who were born and conceived naturally are treated as second-class citizens, dubbed faith births or god offspring, and categorized as invalids. Jerome Morrow is getting ready to start his new job as a mission navigator in Gattaca. It's clear that his morning routine differs from that of the average individual. He starts by shaving off as much hair as he can. He takes a shower and then enters an incinerator, where he removes all of his dead skin before burning it. He wraps a urine pack over his thigh and hides it. He then fills a fake fingertip with blood from a refrigerator and places it on his own. Jerome cleans his keyboard at his workplace with a little vacuum, removing any dead skin or hair. Director Joseph approaches Jerome and informs him that he will be a mission flight navigator on a mission to Saturn's moon Titan. He also advises Jerome that he would be subjected to a substance test in the near future. Joseph departs and Jerome places a strand of hair on his comb and plants some dead skin particles from a container into his keyboard. Jerome presents his urine sample to the doctor, Lamar, at the clinic. Lamar tests Jerome's urine, and the results confirm that he is a real person. Lamar brings up his son and wants Jerome to remind him to bring it up again. A colleague, Irene Cassini, approaches Jerome and congratulates him. Irene observes the couple as they watch rockets go into space, and she remarks that Jerome is the only one who watches the launches on a daily basis. Jerome returns to his workstation, but finds his co-workers forming a huddle. Jerome reflects on how his selection as a flight navigator has been ensured since his birth, but admits that he isn't Jerome Morrow through thought. Antonio and Marie Freeman can see Vincent through a natural method in a flashback. Marie delivers a healthy baby boy, but a nurse takes her blood and runs it through a machine that may detect future ailments. Antonio pays attention as the nurse lists all of the possible ailments and medical issues for the baby. Myopia, heart disease, and a life expectancy of less than 30 years were among the factors. The baby is given the name Vincent by Antonio, and Marie cradles it in her arms. Vincent, the baby, is shown to be the one playing Jerome. To avoid a repeat of the circumstance, the couple chooses to produce a second child, but one whose DNA are altered. A doctor explains that their next child will be free of any inheritable diseases. He also claims that he removed any potentially unfavorable conditions such as baldness, drunkenness, myopia, and obesity. Marie tells the doctor that they only want the disorders removed, but the doctor responds that they would want their child to have the best possible start in life, given the amount of imperfection that humans are born with. Anton, Vincent's sibling, was born in this manner. The impact of gene editing can be seen even in children's early years. Despite his youth, Anton is developing faster and stronger than Vincent. Vincent is also aware of his parents' fondness for Anton. Vincent develops a slight dislike for his younger brother. Vincent has an interest in outer space, space travel, and dreams of becoming an astronaut as a child. Given his underlying medical concerns, his parents try to discourage him. Antonio informs him that Vincent will only be permitted to board a spaceship if he cleans it. Vincent realizes this as a young man when he is repeatedly denied at all of his screenings and job applications. Now that they're grown, the two boys battle to see who can swim the furthest. Anton normally wins, but Vincent sensed something was going to change this time. Vincent overtakes Anton and takes the lead in the race, determined to beat his brother. Anton finally succumbs to exhaustion and begins to sink. Vincent rushes to his brother's rescue, retrieving him and leading him back to the shore. This, Vincent feels, was the one time in their lives when Anton wasn't as strong as he thought he was, and Vincent wasn't as weak as he thought he was. Vincent then makes the decision to leave his family for good. He starts as a janitor at Gattaca. Vincent fantasizes about working at Gattaca, watching blankly at the daily influx of laborers. He takes a seat at one of the desks and pretends to be a navigator. Vincent continues to study and train, but he recognizes that due to his genetics, he will never be able to attain his goals. He has no choice but to contact a gentleman who provides his services in constructing identities because he has no other option. Vincent is given the opportunity to mature as a person. He meets Jerome Morrow, a genetically superior guy who has become a paraplegic due to an accident. Jerome possesses a high IQ, flawless vision, exceptional strength, and a lengthy lifespan. Jerome would no longer be able to use his better DNA as a paraplegic, and a paraplegic weakling would no longer be welcomed into society. Jerome is therefore forced to sell his DNA and identity in order to maintain his standard of living. Vincent would play Jerome in Gattaca and donate a percentage of his pay to Jerome's support. Vincent needs contact lenses to see clearly and to match his eye color to Jerome's. He then alters his hairstyle and features to resemble Jerome as closely as possible. Finally, he undergoes leg lengthening surgery. Vincent needed to apply for Gattaca as soon as possible. He brings a urine and blood sample from Jerome. He gets in as soon as his genes are determined to be authentic. Vincent would have to dispose of loose skin, fingernails, and hair on a daily basis. He'd then bring Jerome's pee, blood, and other DNA traces to be tested on a regular basis. Vincent donated the money while Jerome contributed the DNA. He snaps out of his reverie and rushes closer to his huddled colleagues, where he discovers a mission director has been battered to death. Investigators swarm Gattaca, attempting to recover as much DNA evidence as possible. One of Vincent's eyelashes has been accidentally left behind, and one of the investigators picks it up for testing. Vincent is concerned that the incident will prevent him from launching for Titan, but Joseph assures him that everything will go according to plan. Jerome is anxious that Vincent's DNA may be discovered during the investigation, but Vincent assures him that this will not be the case. He believes he'll already be on his way to Titan by the time they discover his false identity. After that, the two go out to celebrate. Irene, back in Gattaca, is suspicious of Vincent and rummages through his desk for hair strands or dead skin to test. She locates Jerome's hair strand and transports it to a DNA testing facility. She is relieved to learn that the Jerome she knows is a real person. Jerome and Vincent get home after a night out, and Vincent puts Jerome to bed. Jerome confesses that his mishap was not at all an accident. In an attempt to end his life, he had willingly walked in front of a moving automobile. He then tells Vincent that he is proud, and Vincent informs Jerome that he is inebriated and should go to bed. Vincent's invalid DNA is discovered in a police laboratory, drawing the attention of the case's principal investigator. The investigators return to Gattaca the next day, with the eyelash owner as their major suspect. They discover that the man, Vincent Freeman, worked as a janitor at Gattaca. According to the head investigator, the invalid should have died by that time, based on his records. He suggests they search through entrance logs, suspecting the assassin may be working in Gattaca, not wanting to leave any stone unattended. Vincent later meets with Irene. Irene then admits that she took a strand of his hair and had it tested on him, and she apologizes. She tells Vincent that, despite having her genes altered, she still has a significant risk of heart failure, which prevents her from participating in any space mission. She gives a strand of her hair in exchange, but Vincent tosses it, claiming that he doesn't need to test her to fully trust her. Vincent tells Jerome at home that the police discovered his eyelash at the crime scene, and that he is now a suspect. He's worried about being recognized and considers fleeing. Jerome becomes enraged, accusing Vincent of being overly paranoid. Vincent is assured by Jerome that he will not be recognized because it will be impossible for them to believe that one of their own elites has been an invalid all this time. Vincent goes out on a date with Irene later that evening. In Gattaca, the chief investigator instructs the cops to search the trash for additional evidence. He also directs checkpoints and routine checks throughout the city to weed out any invalids posing as legal residents. Irene and Vincent drive down a highway before coming upon a checkpoint after attending a nice piano concert. The cops are seeking for contact lenses in the eyes. Vincent removes his contacts invisibly, but he becomes blind as a result. They pass through the checkpoint without being noticed. Irene tells Vincent she wants to show him something down the road. She parks her car on the side of the road and walks across the street through a swarm of fast-moving cars. Vincent is following, but without his contact lenses, he is having difficulty seeing. His eyesight is reduced to a jumble of lights and forms, but he makes it through with determination. The pair is watching the sunrise at a solar farm. Irene notices Vincent's eyes look different while romantically strolling down the farm, but dismisses it right away. The investigators get more confirmation of Vincent's DNA from a paper cup in the garbage at the crime lab. Vincent could be operating in Gattaca in disguise, they believe. This is impossible, according to the lead investigator, because an invalid would lack the mental and physical stamina required to work at Gattaca. To properly screen out the imposter, the cop advises collecting blood from every employee in Gattaca. Vincent gets in line the next day to have his blood drawn for testing. Lamar enters a room and begins drawing blood. Fortunately, Vincent had brought a vial of Jerome's blood with him. Jerome flinches as Lamar injects him, as though in agony, then stands up. He swiftly exchanges the vials and hands the vial containing Jerome's blood to Lamar. The investigators want to seek another test because the mass blood testing yielded no significant results, but Joseph refuses, claiming they've wasted too much time. He doesn't want any additional delays leading up to the launch, which is only 2 days away. The investigators have no choice but to abandon their mission. Irene and Vincent go out again, this time to a classy eating establishment. Irene accepts Vincent's invitation to dance, and the two share an intimate moment. All Vincent has ever desired is to flee the world, he tells Irene. He thinks it amusing that, so close to the launch, he suddenly finds a reason to stay. The cops barge in right in the middle of their scene and order everyone to remain inside. Vincent drags Irene outdoors through the back door, fully caught off guard. When a cop tries to intervene, Vincent hits him, pummeling his face and knocking him out. He takes Irene and the two of them discover a safe haven. The chief investigator, who appears more concerned and disturbed than determined, shouts out to Vincent in the alley. Irene inquires about Vincent. Vincent is about to respond when she tells him to be silent. Irene prefers to remain in the dark. She leans in for a kiss with him. Vincent wakes up in Irene's bed after spending the night with her. Vincent rushes to the beach, fearful of leaving traces of DNA, and scrapes himself clean with a rock. When he returns to Irene's residence, she finds his surgical scars. Vincent claims he acquired it in an accident, and Irene believes him. At the police station, the chief investigator analyzes a photograph of Jerome and compares it to a photograph of Vincent. The lead investigator comes at Vincent's desk the next day, looking for DNA. Vincent, whom Joseph refers to as Jerome, is one of their best employees and had nothing to do with the murder, Joseph assures him. When Irene notices this, she warns Vincent. Irene is apprehended by the investigator, who takes her to Jerome's house. In the meantime, the cop checks the murder victim and extracts saliva from his or her eye. When Vincent notices Irene and the detective leave, he calls Jerome and informs him that the investigator is on his way. After that, Jerome drags himself up the stairwell, dragging himself up each step. Jerome just makes it to the intercom before the doorbell rings. As the investigator and Irene arrive, he walks over to a chair and sits down. Irene sees the real Jerome for the first time and is completely taken aback, but she maintains her composure. Jerome and Irene act as though they've known each other for years, and the investigator has his suspicions that something isn't quite right. He draws Jerome's blood and uses his DNA reader to analyze it. He continues down the stairs till he receives a call from the cop informing him that the culprit has been captured. The investigator returns to his feet and exits. Irene is devastated when she discovers she has been deceived by Vincent, who emerges behind Jerome. Vincent pursues her, but Irene is wary of him. Vincent ultimately discloses to her that he is an invalid, and that he has lived far longer than expected. Irene is told by Vincent that invalids are more than just a mirror of their projected outcome. Irene walks away with a puzzled and surprised expression on her face. Director Joseph has been seized by the cop at the precinct. It was revealed that the victim was a major impediment to the Titan flight and wanted it cancelled. Because the flight only happens once every 70 years, the director felt obligated to do everything he could to keep the flight on track. The suspect has been apprehended, and the investigation has been concluded, yet the investigator appears dissatisfied. Vincent discovers the investigator at his desk later that night. Vincent approaches him, and the investigator inquires as to why Vincent is unable to recognize him. Anton, Vincent's long-lost brother, is revealed by the investigator. He informs Vincent that their parents have died, despite the fact that Vincent is still alive. Vincent defends himself, claiming Anton is only after him because he can't believe an invalid could hold such a high post. Anton is concerned about the amount of deception Vincent has been subjected to. Anton invites Vincent to join him and asks him to cease his unlawful activities. Anton merely wants to see Vincent fail, Vincent says, raising his voice. After that, Anton challenges Vincent to a new swimming competition. The brothers walk down to the stormy beach, strip down, and jump in. They begin to swim, getting farther and further away from the shore. Anton begins to struggle and asks Vincent to come to a halt. They continue when Vincent teases him. Anton inquires about Vincent's progress in life. Vincent responds that he has progressed this far because he has never paused or doubted himself in anything he has done. Anton makes an attempt to swim back but drowns. Vincent arrives to save the day, and the two of them swim back to shore. Vincent locates Irene, who surmises that Vincent's eyesight was impaired the night they attempted to cross the street, but he appreciates him continuing to do so for her. If she still wishes to be tested, Vincent gives her a strand of hair, which Irene lets fly in the breeze. Jerome informs Vincent at their residence that he's left enough genetic material for him to use when he returns. Vincent inquires as to why he had left so many, and Jerome responds that he may be embarking on a voyage of his own. Jerome expresses his gratitude to Vincent for allowing him to share his life with him. Vincent may have taken Jerome's body, but Jerome fulfilled Vincent's ambition. Vincent offered Jerome a sense of accomplishment he hadn't felt before, and he appreciates him for it. Vincent departs for the launch after Jerome delivers him an envelope. Lamar notifies Vincent at Gattaca that a new regulation has been implemented, requiring passengers to have their pee checked prior to the trip. Because Vincent forgot to carry a pack of Jerome's pee, he has no alternative but to fill it with his own. Lamar administers the test, and Vincent is found to be ineligible. Vincent is then told about Lamar's son, who idolizes Vincent. His son applied for a job in Gattaca, but was turned down because to an inferior gene. It's revealed that Lamar knew Vincent had a false identity from the start and kept it to himself. Vincent, he believes, is a living contradiction to those who believe that invalids will never achieve to anything. Lamar alters the outcome, declaring Vincent to be correct. Vincent then climbs aboard the spacecraft and awaits the launch. In the meantime, Jerome crouches inside the incinerator, waiting for the fire to start. As the flames devour him, he lies motionless and serene. The rocket takes off and begins its journey to Titan. Vincent opens the envelope as the ship leaves the atmosphere and sees a lock of Jerome's hair. Thanks for taking the time to watch. To watch more of these movie recaps, like the video and subscribe.